Hello and welcome to drillingcontractor.org. I'm Kelly Ainsworth Robinson. The Drilling Systems Automation Roadmap has been years in the making and has just been rolled out to the industry for the first time. I'm with John DeWart, Program Manager for the DSA Roadmap JIP, and he's here to tell us more. How are you doing today, John?
So far, so good. Busy day with the workshop.
The DSA Roadmap has been years in the making and is a first-of-its-kind initiative. Can you give us a bit of background on how the project got started and the process used to build the roadmap?
Yes, so three of us got together and thought about the need for a roadmap for drilling systems automation. So we launched the initiative. Two of the people have sort of dropped towards the wayside, and I ended up running it as a program manager. We built a steering committee of, I think it was 14 different experts in the industry, and identified the Sandia National Laboratories process, road mapping process, as the way to do it, the method to follow. And in fact, if you look on Wikipedia at technology roadmaps, what they describe is the Sandia National process. So we took that, which is a declassified document, adapted it for our purpose, and then followed through the stages. Of course, with volunteers, we took a lot longer than DoD or someone else who follows a similar process, because they have funding and they pay people to do it. So that's why it's taken quite a while to get where we are.
And the original aim for the project was just for the creation of the DSA roadmap, but since then the scope has expanded to include both the roadmap and the body of knowledge. Can you tell us about the body of knowledge and why this was added to the project scope?
What we found was that as we worked together, we had the steering committee, and then we broke out the work into subgroups, which we call challenge teams. And then they reached out, the leaders reached out to other experts in the industry globally, and we ended up reaching out to around 50 experts. As they worked on each of these challenges, such as instrumentation and sensors or communications, when they worked on it, they came up with descriptions of what was happening, but also they came up with what needs to happen, what needs to change, and they started to develop what we later termed a body of knowledge. So rather than starting with a story of how we thought it would evolve or develop in the industry, they started by describing the basics that could be done correctly or done much better. And then from that, we started to evolve how the roadmap would develop. So now we're saying, with these experts, we've created a body of knowledge and a roadmap combined.
What standards do you think the industry needs to develop to guide the development and deployment of automated drilling systems, and how can we ensure that those standards do get developed?
So the standards that we think need to be developed are the ones that enable the industry to interoperate between different groups that are drilling a well. And a lot of that is related to the communication systems. So already work has been done by OPC Foundation and Energistics to build a companion specification between OPC UA and WITS-ML. But the other thing we see is to develop a rig information model, which would expand to a drilling systems information model, which would define how data is structured and where it comes from, so that people could go and access data easily. A lot of experts see a huge value in this, and I think that the industry does, but the industry doesn't seem quite ready to jump up and say, yes, go do it for us. So some people are a bit hesitant. The other standards are things like levels of automation taxonomy, where we have taken a matrix through the cycle of acquire the data, assess the data, take the decision, and then take the action. And this 4-cycle process actually has different levels of automation. And as we see directional drilling automation evolve, what we see is the first part of the cycle is automated, and then it becomes an advisory mode to a human who implements the action. But once there's confidence in the system, it then transfers to a closed-loop system. And this mapping enables people to look at what levels they will take it to. And we think that should be a standard. It's just a method of being able to articulate to each other what levels we're at, instead of just grouping it as a global level, which doesn't really exist.
Since the project kicked off, we've seen automation gain a lot more traction in the industry. How has this impacted the development of the roadmap?
That's a very interesting question, because in 2012, we had a drilling systems automation workshop in Vail in Colorado. We had 120 people, of which 30% were non-oil and gas. So we had people from Boston Dynamics, people from NASA, people from OPC Foundation. With experts from in the industry and those people from outside the industry, the final part was to run some work groups to build a vision of the future. People built a very aggressive vision of really, for repetitive land drilling, for a really highly automated drilling machine. And then we took a vote, and majority of people said this would happen in 10 years. So that would be 2022. A lot of people looked at it and said, this is pie in the sky. This is far out and it won't happen. What's happening recently with the significant and rapid advances in the application of automation to systems and subsystems in drilling is actually confirming that this vision will probably be realized. The industry is accelerating fast enough in the development and deployment of automation in order that they can deliver that. So the things now look more and more that they will match up.
There are a lot of concerns about sensor accuracy and unknowns with computer processing that are impacting the adoption of automation. How can these concerns be addressed?
So sensor accuracy is a big issue. There's an operators group on data quality which has looked at sensors mainly related to the drilling rig and identified those which perform well and those which don't, and are coming out with specifications not only on the sensor itself but on calibration and maintenance of the sensors. This is very important. The next step is actually to define the requirements for the sensors for automation. Once we have that, what we're proposing is that we have an industry-independent organization run verification and validation programs on the sensors and on the process systems, or the automation systems. And this would be a way that the clients can understand what they can achieve, what they do, and also the vendors could go to this organization and prove what their systems do. Right now we're in the early phase of that and talking about how we could get this launched for the advantage of the drilling industry.
Thank you for joining us today, John, and giving us a look at all the work that's gone into this roadmap.
Well, thank you very much and enjoyed the interview.
And thank you for joining us on drillingcontractor.org.